All right. What I would be remiss if I didn't start this stream with starting out with that amazing little clip of
the Braveheart. It gets you every time. Yeah.
Yeah, because for those who are tuning in right now, we've got 13,000 people. Let's go. For those of you that are just tuning in, we are going to talk about American blockchains. And like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't start it out with that little commercial that I did about Constellation DAG, because they are the only publicly traded network that currently has federal approval and currently has blockchain applications running right now live. But this stream isn't going to be dedicated and focused on just one blockchain. We're going to be talking about several blockchains. And we've got the chart up here, and I have it up to the past 30 days because that was post-election, which to me was pretty significant when we're talking about American blockchains, because we now have the most pro-crypto Congress in history. We have a president-elect that has made it his mission to bring blockchain back to the United States. And we have Gary Gensler, the public enemy #1 to blockchain adoption in the United States. He's gone. So he is completely out. So it's like now, like the United States is completely unshackled from advancements of digital assets. And today I have the pleasure, the chart wizard, Matt Hughes with me.
Yes. Welcome. Hello, everybody. They can finally see my face now. Nobody ever saw my face before, but yeah. Here I am. Yeah. This is my face. Yeah.
This is my face. Yeah, so I thought maybe what we could do is, I mean, we're obviously going to go over all of these, but like what I thought we could start out with is maybe the one that sort of kicked it off, that most people are familiar with, is XRP, right? And so XRP essentially went sideways for years, and you were actually for years.
Yeah.
You had pointed out to a lot of people that I mean, it's just going to go sideways until it breaks certain points. And most, I think, famously, what was it? A couple of what was it, in August? You reminded our favorite dude, Raoul Pal. You know,
I did, yeah.
You reminded him, like, hey, bro, like XRP is going to break out, right?
Yeah, like basically he sent out like a tweet or a post or whatever you call it these days, that the dinosaur coins, like ADA or whatever, like right before they broke out. I'm like, oh God, this is going to bite him in the butt right there. And sure enough, it just took off. Yeah. Just the charts were just ready to go.
Yeah. So here we go. I'll let you point out to people that where it was completely obvious, you know, like if you go back and you see like XRP was just stuck in this spot for years and it wasn't going to do anything, right?
Yeah. So I've had this chart shown for at least maybe 6 months or so, maybe even longer. But I just told everybody that this is, for a long time, for maybe this whole year, I said this is probably one of my favorite charts in all of crypto, because if I just take off the fib here, you can just see what XRP did from the very beginning, right? Like everybody was like, this is a S coin, whatever, because it did nothing. But people forget that from there to here, it was up like 60,000%. And I'm like, you know, when things go up 60,000%, they take a long time to cool off. And sure enough, this was 6 years of cooling off. But my focus was always this arc, right? Like it never, and these are Fibonacci arcs, and this never broke above, except for once here in the all-time highs, but it got completely negated the following chart. And then essentially it just stayed underneath that arc forever. And I kept on saying, like, when it was maybe like right here in July, I'm like, once it breaks that arc, it's just going to fly. It's just going to fly eventually, and you'll see. And like, I was like, no, that's never going to happen. But yeah, it sure enough happened. And now what we can see is what sits above. Well, that next arc is like $9 above there. So I think that's going to be the minimum place. And then even the next level up there is like $28. So I think that's possible because it spent 6 years on this orange level here. So then the next level does sit at $28, $29. So I think that could be possible. Not like this year or next year, but eventually I think that could be possible. So yeah, sure enough, this is a very bullish chart. And actually now this is the most bullish XRP has ever been. And I'm going to show people why, because of this Ichimoku monthly Ichimoku indicator. So essentially, you can see that it broke above the cloud here for the first time ever in history. Like back here in 2017, 2018, there wasn't really a cloud. It was still pretty young on a monthly chart. But so this is the most bullish it's ever been because it's above the cloud. And everything is now 100% bullish for this chart. And people think it's going to slow down now. People think it's going to go collapse like it did before. But no, it collapsed before because it was still underneath the cloud. It was still underneath the arcs. It could never break out. So it collapsed before. But now we've never seen an XRP chart this bullish ever in history besides the previous all-time highs. And now we're really, really close to the previous all-time highs. So this is basically, it's going to go. It's going to go probably to at least $8, $9. And I think maybe even higher. So
yeah, and for the people that think that it's gonna crash or whatever, here I'm gonna share my screen real quick. So
yeah,
so right now, shameless plug. This is Chain Stats. I think it's an amazing tool that everybody should have. And what you get with Chain Stats Pro is you get order book and liquidation charts, right? And that's very important to know, to have that data. And you can see it right here from the chart. I mean, it doesn't take a super genius or an expert analysis of anything. You can see. So the green lines on the right show zones, right? So it's pretty clear that the price where it's at right now is going to hold. Like the risk of XRP going to zero or like whatever these people are saying. I mean, I see it all online.
I see it too.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, it's gonna dump. Like, and it's like, no, bro, it's not gonna dump. Like there's so much buy orders like at the price where it's at right now. The risk of it like going to zero or whatever is almost zero. The risk of it going to zero is almost zero.
And I think even the risk of it going below $2 is pretty low too now, simply because when I switch to my 4-hour chart, which I've been showing on X quite a bit too, it's all about the levels. And I can just see by this chart alone, since it broke this level right here, right at 220, it essentially just went to the next level and then went right back down to retest it. So it could just stay in this range and freak people out. Like, oh, it's going to get really people on the short side. Oh, it's going to collapse. Then, oh, people get bullish up here. Then it could do that for some time. And since this is a 4-hour chart, it could do it for another week or two or whatever, right? But the thing is, it's holding 220. And you can see it just visually right here. It's not breaking below. It's never closed a 4-hour candle below 220 at all. So for people that are shorting it and didn't take profits in that area, I think it's a mistake because I don't believe it's really going to collapse below that. And sure enough, I've been saying that on X for a while and it did not collapse below that. And now it's just following the arcs, right? It got rejected just now at the arc there, and it could come back down to the level here in the 230s again, the angle, and it could just be in this wedge for some time before it's really ready to break out. So this is looking like all-time highs, could happen this year, maybe even January of next year. So I think people that are bearish on it, that think it's an S coin or whatever you want to call it, I think they're incorrect. I think they're going to be proven incorrect, and the next stop would be all-time highs up here in the 340s. So
yeah, and right now we're at a point in the market where it's not really advisable to. I mean, at least from my standpoint, I mean, I think especially with Bitcoin breaking 100, I think it would be not advised to get out of any position. You're probably better off just like holding instead of like trading out of something.
Yeah,
because
I say that all the time to my Patreon people. And when I go to the others chart, I just want to show everybody this others chart is telling the story that, look, guys, it's not even all-time highs yet. And others chart, for people that don't know, is everything excluding the top 10. So this is not including XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the stable coins, or any of that, right? Or even Doge. It's not including, and it hasn't even broken into all-time highs yet. So for people that think that this altcoin market is going to just start going down, that's incorrect thoughts, because this is literally just showing it's not even breaking all-time highs yet. And once it does, then the party will get started. So I think people are just so traumatized over the past 4 years that they assume everything's just going to collapse once it goes up. But this is, a lot of people haven't experienced a really explosive bull run. And I think we're about to see that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, no doubt. So gonna reset the room here real quick, because we have 68,000 people watching the stream, and I'm here for those of you that are following me. I'm here with Matt Hughes, and so right now I've got his X profile up, so everybody should give him a follow. I mean, this guy is just an absolute wizard with TA. He's the one that shared some insight to me, because I had never actually used the GAN. Right. Sorry, I had a little brain fart there. Yeah. So right now, like what he has pulled up is the GAN chart, and I had never actually used that before, and that to me is a hack. So how about we go? Oh, sorry. There
I am. Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Matt Hughes.
There's a lot of imposters out there, so make sure you choose the right one. Yeah.
there is a lot of imposters out there. Yeah. So this is Matt Hughes's profile on X. If you're not following him, like, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because this guy should have way more followers, out there. I mean, he's been right way more than he's been wrong. And there's a lot of people, especially with TA stuff, that I've noticed is people are just like hype up stuff because people only want like positives, right? And that's really what I appreciate about you and your takes is you're honest. Like if the chart isn't showing it, you're going to say, hey, look, sorry. I mean, I hate to hurt your feelings, but there's no way that this thing is breaking out anytime soon.
Yeah.
And
I used to say that about like Casper and all that stuff, but now even like Casper is showing life again too. So it's like, it's hard to find a bearish chart out there now.
Yeah. So the next one, let's go over XLM.
Yeah, XLM. Well, let me go to my XLM chart here. So yeah, XLM, it's really above the most important level you can possibly be above for any kind of retrace, and that's from the all-time high to the recent low back in December 22, and it's above that 786. And today is the weekly candle close, guys, at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it looks like XLM is going to have 2 weekly candle closes above that elusive 786 level at 0.475. So if it does that, then this could be possibly just building a base ready to take the next leg higher into all-time highs in the 79s, the 80s, and possibly even the fib extensions up above into the $1.40s and $2. So yes, XLM can get over $1 very easily because it has never been this bullish since the downtrend either. Back above that 786 is super important, and just keep maintaining that level, and it's gonna just go. It's gonna go.
Yeah, and all these alts outside of the ones that we're focusing on today are pretty much going to do pretty well during the bull run. But the reason why I want to focus this stream and focusing on American-based blockchains is because next year, when the new administration actually takes office, I think it's going to be a transformative effect. It's clear that not only this administration, but the entire Congress wants digital asset adoption. And for whatever reason, the current administration and excuse me, the current Congress, not the one that just got elected, has kind of a bug up its ass about adopting crypto assets. I mean, I'm sure everybody here has seen the news about Operation Choke Point. There's been this war on crypto, and that war on crypto effectively ended this November, because now you have the most pro crypto Congress in history. And I'm going to point out that it was a bipartisan effort. I mean, basically, if you were a Democrat and you voted against crypto, more pro-crypto Democrats got elected than ones that were against it. And it was the same thing with Republicans. Pretty much every Republican that ran on a platform that was against crypto and blockchain didn't get voted in. And so the message was pretty clear here in America. The party isn't Republican or Democrat. The new party in America is blockchain. And that's amazing to see, because there's so many cool technologies, and one of the cool technologies, one of the cool American blockchain companies based out of Texas is Hedera. So let's pull up the Hedera chart.
Okay, Hedera 𝗏𝗂𝗏. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏, another one, right? There's a pattern going on here of the importance of the 786 retrace level, and that is at 0.3208. And again, and sorry, this is the monthly chart. Let me do the weekly chart here. So we can see in 7 hours and 39 minutes, we're going to get a weekly candle close right there, and it's going to look like it's going to close above a few important levels here. The first one right here is going to be the orange level of the GAN, which is around 29, and the second thing is the 332 cents, the 786. So this is also another development that probably can just start to build a base at a higher level. So people that are expecting it to crash, probably not. And then what comes next? Well, it's going to be the 42 and then the 58 above, and that's all-time highs. And then, yes, it can get to $1.20, maybe $1.80, maybe even $3 up top as well. So these fib extensions, and just to let you know, Bitcoin has gotten to the 1.618 on previous cycles numerous times. So it's not out of the question to get to the 1.618 on the log scale. So yes, I think minimum targets for a lot of altcoins will be like a 1.618 fib extension level. So for Hedera, that would be around $3.30. So that could be possible.
And can you for historical context? So Hedera, is one of those companies that has a lot of partnerships, right? They have their governing council, but not all of the times announcements of these partnerships actually translates into this massive swing. So could you maybe pull up in July? And so the reason why I want you to pull up July is because let me switch the screens here. So July is when there was an announcement that Deloitte was partnering with Hedera, and that's massive news. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Deloitte is one of the largest systems integrators in the world, and there was no doubt, there was zero question that this was massive news. But this massive news didn't translate into Hedera going to $5.
Yeah, so July would be basically right here of 2023 or 2024.
No, this year. Yeah,
this year. Yeah. So it'd be like right here, right?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you can see that it was up against all of that resistance, and so it didn't really matter that Deloitte made an announcement that they were going to partner with Hedera.
Yeah, And a lot of times is what I tell a lot of people on my Patreon is like, even with the news narratives, just focus on the charts first, because usually the fundamentals follow the charts. And I think oftentimes when charts are just looking for direction, if they keep getting trapped under resistance, they just want to go to where most of the liquidity lies. And for Hedera, that was like right down where this blue angle was. And it finally had to make one lower low to just grab all that liquidity down there and then shoot up. So a lot of times we see that on charts, that they have to make one last lower low before it shoots up because of the extra liquidity down there. So it's called like a liquidity grab. And then sure enough, it was like a launch pad for Hedera, just right off that blue angle and straight up to the orange level, right?
Mhm.
Very, very, very beautiful chart. And I think nothing was ever broken too, because you can even go in the past here and see these previous highs right here back in like 2020. All it did is like kind of break out and backtest that zone the whole like year, the whole year of 2022, all the way till November of 2024, right? It was just basically backtesting the previous highs. So nothing on this chart was ever broken, and it was just a beautiful chart.
Yeah. But going back to the Deloitte stuff, right?
Yeah.
That to me is gives like assurance that, you know, this is a good asset to hold, right? So, you know, the fact that you have, like I said, one of the largest systems integrators in the world, you know, everybody should just do some research on Deloitte and, you know, see the significance of that, because, you know, that was huge. That should give people the confidence that Hedera is a pretty solid investment, right? So if you got into Hedera then off of that announcement, you know, it's good, right? And so, yeah, it might not have broken out, but, you know, Hedera was at no point risk of like going to zero.
No. Yeah, and none of these American blockchains are at risk of going to zero, in my opinion.
Right. And then, so can we switch for a second from a block? Because again, like this is something that I want to like emphasize to people, because people are always like, well, when is this going to break out? When is this going to break out? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you've got sound fundamental tech. So like the company that actually led me to digital assets was Palantir. And Palantir is a like traditional company. It's listed on the stock exchange. If you wanted to bring up that chart that you talk about a lot. And Palantir was something that I was telling everybody about before I even joined X. Palantir was a company that I had been following for years. For those people that aren't aware, Palantir was actually a company. It was actually founded in 2002. So it's been around for over 20 years. They didn't IPO until 2019. But if you were following the technology and understood, you know, market direction and where everything was going, investing in companies like Palantir was a no-brainer, right? So maybe you can show like why essentially from 2019 up until just recently, it didn't really do much.
Yeah. Well, I think it all starts with finding the bottom. Like ultimately, once it found the bottom here, let me just pull up a fib too from the all-time high to the low. And we can just see that it didn't really start to get any kind of bullish momentum until it got over this 236 Fibonacci retrace level, the 955. So we can see right when we had explosive moves above that, it didn't really look back. And this is when it all started. And this is kind of what we're seeing in crypto right now. We saw this with just the H-bar chart right now, right? It just launched up with a bunch of bullish weekly candles, and then it didn't ever look back. And yes, it did build a base at higher levels, right? And that's exactly what we're going to see with crypto as well. So I think Palantir chart is kind of foreshadowing what a lot of altcoins are doing, especially what like XRP, H-bar, and others are doing right now, even XLM. Right, so we can see slowly but surely it was each angle was acting as a resistance or a support. So this angle was initially the resistance, then it gravitated to the lower angle, which was then a resistance, and then the blue angle was a support. So it was in between like a channel. You can just think of these angles kind of like as channels, right? And then ultimately it was going to lose this blue angle as a support and then flip it to a resistance. So then ultimately when that happens, it usually gravitates to the next angle below, and that's exactly what we saw right here on August 5th. That huge carry trade Japanese yen scare, it just finally made it go get all that extra liquidity down there and touch that angle. And after that, it was just a breakout from the orange level of the GAN. But essentially, in my opinion, right now, we're kind of like right here for crypto, right here in this zone. This is where we are for a lot of the altcoins, and they're probably not going to go lower, right? A lot of people are saying they're going to collapse again, but I see on my charts that they're just going to start building a base at a higher level, and they're eventually going to do what Palantir is doing right now. And where is Palantir now? Well, it's finally at the 1.272 log scale fib, 78.13. So this could be your first major resistance zone. And for people that took profits like way down here in the 20s and 30s, I think they're probably regretting it now. But usually when things break out of important GAN levels, like this one did right here, you don't want to really take profits on that. And I was advising my Palantir or my Patreon people not to take profits either. And simply because it's really going to just melt up. And that's exactly what it has done. So essentially, we're in a very explosive growth stage for Palantir, and everybody says it's overvalued. But this is where the charts are first, and then the fundamentals and the EPS, they are going to catch up to price. And right now, this is just a beautiful chart. But would I be chasing this chart right now? No, I would not, because it's really at this most important 1.272 fib extension level. So you got to be careful at $78 here. I'm not sure if it's going to break through the first try. It could do some consolidating like we saw maybe like right here, right? It could just consolidate for a while before it makes its next leg higher. Ultimately, I think it's going to probably at least $134. So Palantir is in great shape. But again, I'm going to reiterate, I think altcoins are right here, right now for HBAR, XLM, XRP, all of it. They're right here in this stage of Palantir's growth.
All right. To reset the room here, we just got bullish update on Palantir. There's 87,000 people here watching the stream. Wow. For me is a record.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's for a live stream anyway. I think the last record that I had was with Diggles and Jorgensen going over all the like federal stuff. So that was a couple of weeks ago. I think we had like 69,000 people or so. So as Matt was just showing you guys, I mean, it's just like if you just look at the charts and you look at the points of resistance, like it's pretty clear like why things are kind of stuck in the areas that they're at. But going back to crypto, which is the kind of the focus of the show today, let's bring up Algorand. So Algorand is like one of those dinosaur coins that has been around for forever, right? But they have a lot of things working for them. And Algorand, from my purview, actually is one of these networks that I would argue that they actually have the most real world adoption out of any blockchain company. So like everybody's hyping up this narrative like RWAs, real world assets. But I've liked to use the term real world adoption because everything that is running on Algorand right now is essentially like a real world asset, but it's being adopted and utilized like by the real world right now. They've got tokenized real estate. They've got tokenized airline stuff. They've got tokenized healthcare. They've got tokenized gold. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I'll show some of that. But like, let's from a chart perspective, let's see what's going on with Algorand.
Yeah. So from a chart perspective, it's not as bullish as your XRPs or XLMs or even HBARs, really. But possibly because of the chart already had a really explosive move from previous cycles, right? And we can see that from back in 2020, it was basically 9 cents, and it just exploded all the way to like $3, right? So really, really explosive cycle before. So that's why it's only back to the 50% level right now, the 49. But we can also see this orange level of the GAN is kind of getting in the way too, and it's not getting back above it yet. So I think this is acting as some resistance right there, and that ultimately sits around 57 cents. But what I'm really watching for today's weekly candle close is really to see if it can get above this 0.4954. Just maybe see if it can build a base in there. But if it can't, it still has this blue angle here, so it can just like build a little wedge in that formation, ready to break out towards the upper resistance levels above. And ultimately, the goal is to get to at least the 786, the 138. And once it can make that a support, it can go a lot higher and get to the blue level and possibly beyond. Maybe even to the 1.272 or the $13 zone up there as well in the future, but one level at a time. Don't want to be too over enthusiastic yet until it at least like flips this orange level to a support, because you can see in the past it was a major resistance level back here back in 2020. So it's basically at that point right now. But
it did just recently break out, right? And
yes.
the point being is like before it broke out, like because it's one of these older coins, a narrative that I've seen online consistently was it's not going anywhere, it's never going to break out, but clearly it did break out.
Yeah, it just held a base. Like you can see right here, it was just building a base along the bottom here, right? Just basically in 2023, building a base there. It retested it back in August. And since it never made lower lows, it was just good enough to go higher. And we can see another reason right here. This 200-week moving average is also getting in the way too at 53.96. So there is a lot of resistance here, but yeah, it broke out. And that's because support held. It did not make lower lows. And that was the floor for Algorand. So this is a bullish chart, but not as bullish as XLM, HBAR, or XRP just yet.
Yeah. And, one of the reasons why, like I said, everybody should be, bullish on stuff like Algorand is because they do have real world adoption. So let me share my screen here. So this is one of these companies that I was talking about. TravelX, right? And so this is like tokenized airline tickets. So you can buy and sell and trade airline tickets. And there's a lot of partners that are going on that are using this exchange. And I'm going to share. So this is the activity of it, right? So you can see the activity of this TravelX app has gone up, and that's because they've onboarded new partners. And it's not just TravelX. They have a company in Afghanistan that's 30% of the electric bills in Afghanistan are using this network, and that's something like $30 million a day, like some like ridiculous number. There's also the tokenized real estate that's on the exchange right now. There are so many things happening on Algorand. It's a little ridiculous. I mean, I could do like an entire show on the adoption of Algorand. So like I personally wouldn't sleep on Algorand. I think it's one of those blue chips that's a pretty solid investment, and the risk of it going to zero is, in my opinion, zero. And one of the reasons is because it's super secure. So like what a lot of people don't realize is Algorand actually is a quantum resistant network. So Bitcoin is not a quantum resistant network. Ethereum is not a quantum resistant network. Solana sure as shit is not a quantum resistant network. And network security is going to be super important in the future. When you're talking about big enterprise companies like the Deloittes of the world, they're not going to adopt and tokenize assets on a network where there's risk of getting hacked. And so that's why when you're looking for an investment, a solid investment, you want something that's not that has I'm not going to say no vulnerabilities, but it doesn't have very many vulnerabilities. And Algorand is one of those companies.
All right.
Yeah. Next, let's pull up the DAG chart.
Ooh, the elusive DAG.
Yeah, the elusive DAG.
So DAG actually looks almost identical to Algorand when it comes to the 200-week moving average. There we go. You were still on your screen. So it's just running into resistance wall. That's all. It's also at the 50% level, just like Algorand was, and also getting rejected by the 200-week moving average. And there's 7 hours, 20 minutes until this candle closes. Will it close above it for the first time ever? See, since the development of the appearance of the 200-week moving average, it has never closed a weekly candle above it. And people were super excited here, but nope, I got blocked by some angles and the 200-week, and then it went straight down to ultimate support down here. And then also it was a blast off, right? But it just takes time to get above some resistance, and that's all it's doing. And your support still is that 0.06512. So if it gets down there, it's fine, right? And we don't have to worry too much because this is also above the weekly Ichimoku cloud now. And it hasn't really been above it for that long since basically in March of 2024. But that was just too much resistance that I had to break through below. So this chart is more and more bullish. It just has a little bit more resistance above. And once that breaks, it can get to the 786, and that's the most important level too, 23 cents. And once that gets broken, eventually it can go to all-time highs, 46. And where are the extension levels? Well, they sit up here at $1, maybe 177, maybe $3 at that 1.618. But the next level of the GAN does sit around $14, guys. So that's not impossible if this can ever break as a support. So this is looking better and better. It's just got to overcome this resistance right here.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, I mean, $14 DAG is definitely on the table if it breaks those. And so for those people, because I've been saying some of this stuff like for a long time, and people are like, oh, you're crazy. Like that'll never happen. Right. But going back to XRP, right. Think about how many years people said that'll never happen with XRP. And guess what just happened? Like XRP did just break out, right? Not only did XRP just break out, but the other thing that's pretty significant is XRP is now the most traded coin on Coinbase. So it has a higher trade volume on Coinbase than Bitcoin, right? And for the people that think that there's no way that is ever going to happen to Constellation, let me share my screen here, right? So this is the DAG Explorer, right? And what you can see here is this is like the federal one, right? And so the contracts that they're getting from the federal government, they use and they buy back the token. Like adoption at a federal level is absolutely happening via Iron Spider. The other thing that was just announced, let me pull up this platform one, just to kind of share this. The other thing that was announced just recently was their distributed ledger technology is going to be integrated in Platform One. So what Platform One is, it's the #1 DevSpecOps platform for the entire Department of Defense, right? And so, these contractors, when they're going to want to access the network, and it's been stated many, many times before that DAG is going to be a requirement. The Department of Defense is like the second largest employer in the world. And right now, so this is mainnet, right? So each one of these things is like subnets or blockchain. So like Door is a blockchain built on top of the hypergraph. This 𝗚𝗵𝗽𝗀 metagraph is a blockchain. It's built on top of the network. So I'm going to switch here to integrationsnet. So integrationsnet is kind of like their like the bullpen, right? So these networks here, this metagraph token, I've talked about what I suspected this thing was before. I think this is an AI company. But look, you have Common Crawl. So Common Crawl is building a blockchain network on top of Constellation's network. You can see it here. Here's the address. Here's the validators. Here's the snapshots. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with who Common Crawl is like one of the largest web crawlers in the world. It's the foundational basis for essentially all LLMs. OpenAI, ChatGPT, everybody's heard of, that company, right? So 80 to 90% of the data that that OpenAI gets comes from this company, comes from Common Crawl. Billions of web pages are added each and every month, right? So this thing is going to be a live public blockchain. It's going to go live, not on this integrations net, but it is set to go live on the public network. And that is going to be huge for this network. Outside of that, the other thing that I've talked about many, many times, right? And again, so we're kind of like painting the picture here on how Matt's chart showed, there was a possibility for DAG hitting $14. And one of the other reasons why there could be a possibility of DAG hitting $14, why that's absolutely on the table from a fundamental standpoint, is you got things like the National DigiFoundry. So the National DigiFoundry, let me go back to the DAG Explorer here on integrationsnet, and then we'll switch to the metagraphs. So here we go, National DigiFoundry. So you can see National DigiFoundry, there's the token address. So now we'll go back. I guess I didn't switch screens. Yeah, okay, sorry. So here you go. Here's the Explorer. We're on integrationnet, so we're not on mainnet. But this thing is, again, also going to switch to the public network. So the National DigiFoundry, here's the Metagraph ID. We will go back over here to National DigiFoundry. So National DigiFoundry is a DAO, and what they're focused on is bringing traditional assets like tokenized assets from public and private enterprises. So great. So who's involved in the National DigiFoundry? So you've got the National Science Foundation. So this thing was seed funded by the National Science Foundation. You have U.S. Space Force. This is Dr. David Beck from the Space Force. And you have the U.S. Treasury Department. And there's different working groups within the National DigiFoundry that it's all focused on exploring the utilization of digital assets. So the one thing that I have been focused on primarily in my little corner of the internet is things about blockchain, because like I said, going back to Palantir. Palantir is what brought me into this space. And I had no idea that you could actually, build things on a blockchain other than cryptocurrencies. And once I heard that, once I found that out, I was like, wow, this is crazy, right? And so these are the crazy types of things that currently right now the United States government is exploring. So we've got digital asset education and certification, right? This is all on chain, so you can be certified blockchain professional. There's a climate change disaster response. There's a decentralized science working group. There's a secure information sharing working group. There is a space working group that Space Force is involved in. There's a financial product tokenization working group. There's a refugee management working group. And again, all of these stakeholders are involved in this. So yes, the U.S. The National Science Foundation is using this. The Space Force is using this. The Treasury is using this. And this is, kind of how it works as far as the funding. And here's the tokenomics. So yes, there is a DigiToken, NDT. And yes, absolutely, somebody at the U.S. Treasury Department is literally holding this token in their wallet. And it is a Stargazer wallet. It's Constellation's native wallet. Like, all of those things are a fact. Like, that is not even up for debate. And they are doing some amazing things. Like, if we go over to the space working group. So here's the space working group. You can see this is a DAG address. This isn't a Solana address. It's not a Bitcoin address. This is a Constellation DAG address. And here's Dr. David Beck giving a presentation talking about all the cool shit that Space Force is involved with, from even a commercial standpoint that people might not even realize that Space Force is actually involved in. And like some of the research that they're doing, right? So again, this is all using Constellation's distributed ledger technology, right? So they're working on secure GPS signals from satellites. They're talking about autonomous navigation. They're talking about space manufacturing and supply chain, resource management. The list goes on and on and on. And so, like, this is happening, like, right now. Like, as I'm sitting here telling you guys that that this is like real government adoption, there is data being validated in space. And then going back to the U.S. Treasury Department specifically, here's the financial product tokenization working group. So the U.S. Treasury is working on a tokenization engine and exploring many, many use cases. And one of the use cases that they're exploring and talking about goes against like what everybody thinks about the government. So they think the government, automatically, centralized stuff, right? But no, the government wants decentralization. There's actually more security in having the network decentralized. And you can see it here clearly. A decentralized exchange platform, a DEX, powered by a DAO, right? I don't know how to be more clear about like what's happening. And to me, it's just sad that there's a lot of people that just aren't paying attention or will kind of like put it off to the side and, not take it serious or not take this network serious because it doesn't have like a huge market cap or, like whatever. But to give you guys some insight, look, Constellation, again, these guys are the only network, the only publicly traded network that have approval from the federal government. I just showed you that the U.S. Treasury Department is exploring a DEX. Well, guess what? They're about to launch a DEX, and there's going to be an airdrop, and it's all going to be, above board. It's going to be a fair launch. So like nobody from the team is going to be holding any tokens. It's a total fair launch, and this thing is happening. So people need to be paying attention, because you're going to wake up one day, especially with DAG specifically, and the thing is going to be probably over $1, and you're going to be like, what the fuck just happened? Well,
and then they're going to be interested in buying at that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm going to go here. We'll switch back to your chart here. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, show from a chart perspective, like, and I didn't even get into Panasonic. Right. So Panasonic is building a blockchain on top of this network.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people focus too much on the past, and a lot of people were traumatized by the past, but not just with DAG, but with the whole market was just really just collapsed in front of our eyes from 2021 down to basically earlier this month, last month, right? September or November. But first of all, one thing I want to show is any chart, when you look at something like this, and I take everything else off, you can just clearly see how this never was a bearish chart. It never was. Like, this was a very, very high time frame breakout from resistance, and finally had its back test in August of 2024. That's all this was ever. And this never went lower than these previous tops here. And it just was the launch pad for something great. So just ignoring all the narratives, when you look at something like this, lots of charts look like this. Palantir look like that. A lot of charts look like this. And essentially, this is super bullish. And where is it going now? I mean, it's probably, this is the most bullish it's been since the top, really. So because of that, where's it going to go? It's probably going to go back towards all-time highs. And if it goes back to all-time highs, guess what? It's probably going to continue to the $1, $3, $4, $5 zone. And nobody's going to be interested in it until it breaks through these all-time highs. I guarantee you, most people are just going to continue to say, oh, it's going to go lower. It's just a fake out. It's just going to collapse. It's just going to do this. But once it starts breaking into all-time highs, then the herd is going to pile in at that point. And then probably by that point, it will be listed on Coinbase or will be listed on other exchanges. And but right now, it's hard to buy. It's not easy to buy at all.
It isn't easy to buy, and that's like super, super unfortunate. But the other thing, which to me is kind of crazy, is despite that, if we go to the DAG chart itself, right? So I will share this, and we will switch to my screen, right? So yeah, that doesn't look as great as Matt's chart. But yeah, I'll switch that. But I'm not focused on this. Like what I'm focused on here is the volume, right? And so what a lot of people actually don't know about DAG right now is it's actually has a higher volume than it did in 2021 when it was at its all-time high. And here's the 24-hour volume. So KuCoin is actually the largest exchange that it's listed on, but Gate.io just recently flipped it, right? And it's on a lot of exchanges, but like you said, it's hard to get, especially from a US perspective. But the other thing that just happened a couple of weeks ago was it's now on futures, right? So if you're a hater and you don't believe any of the stuff that I've been like pointing out about how like the government stuff is real, or that Common Crawl, and despite it being on the DAG Explorer, right? Despite the fact that the world's largest web crawler and where all AI models get their data, despite that news and despite the Panasonic news, if you don't believe any of the shit that I've been pointing out, you are 100% free to short this investment right now. You can go to MEX, you can go to any one of these three and put in a position and short the shit out of it. But I promise you are going to get fucking wrecked because the longs are going to win, because the adoption of this asset is inevitable. So I think, this is just my belief, that now, like, more U.S. based exchanges are probably paying attention to this, and it's just a matter of like who's going to pull the trigger first. You know, I don't know, but I mean, they're missing out on a lot of money, right? And somebody pointed out like months ago that it's like, oh, it's the volume. And actually, no, it isn't the volume, because if you look at Coinbase, so Coinbase has listed like 200 and some digital assets. And I pointed out like pretty much every day for like a month, back in like May, I believe it was, all the tokens that are listed on Coinbase, where DAG outperforms it in daily volume. So the volume narrative is 100% bullshit. So I don't know what Coinbase specifically, like what their fucking issue is. But you know, there's other exchanges outside of Coinbase. There's Kraken. Kraken, I think, I would love to see Kraken more than Coinbase, because Kraken is focused more on like a traditional like investment style exchange, right? Where they're super bullish on perpetuals, which is like what I'm showing here. They're also super bullish on like enterprise stuff. So I would like to see a Kraken listing before a Coinbase listing. But then there's Gemini, there's Crypto.com, there's Binance US. You know, there's a couple different.
It's still not on any of those though. What are the chances that's going to happen in 2025?
Yeah, I don't I don't know. I mean, yeah. You know, maybe one of the 92,000 people that are watching the stream right now is somebody on one of these exchanges, and you know, can see that there's I mean, because can you imagine if they actually listed, you would see the volume go crazy, right? Because you know, all these, you know, millions of people that don't have access to it, you know, you're just removing that barrier.
Yeah. I mean, but even without the American access, it's still, the chart is almost exactly the same as Algorand right now. And Algorand has a lot of volume and it has a lot of exchanges, but they're both at that 50% retrace level. They're both under the 200-week moving average. They're both exactly at the same point in their retrace. So this is, it doesn't really matter on a technical point, but it would help a lot to be listed elsewhere just to increase the volume and the buy-in pressure. So, yeah.
All right. And, you know, so that kind of concludes the US based tokens that I wanted to talk about. But as a bonus, because there's a lot of overlap between my community and Matt's community. And there is a token that I think is an incredible opportunity. And it's flown below the radar for, you know, its entire history. Is also something that Matt has talked about for a long time, and that is alchemy. So let's look at the alchemy chart real quick.
Yeah. So here's ADS alchemy, not to be confused with ACH, the 𝗂𝗵𝗽.
Yeah, because there is the other ads token for like ad share.
Yeah, there's ad shares and there's also 𝗂𝗵𝗽 ACH as well. Yeah. But that's like that's all different. But this is also the most bullish alchemy ADS has been as well. And look at that. It's above the 786 right here. 786 fib. 3396. Today's the weekly candle close. Close above that. It'll be amazing. And also look at this. You can see the previous high back in February. It's going to be a higher candle close than that. So that is considered a break of structure to the upside, which means that this is almost guaranteed now all-time highs, 55, maybe even the next level up here. Maybe $1.04 is coming soon after that. And then the orange level of my GAN up here is around 120. So that would be the level to flip to a support. And just for a little bit of hopium out there, I guess, if that level ever does become a support, then the next level does become mathematically possible, which means how high does that, how high or how possible, oh, like, let's see. Yeah, it could be maybe 26.88. It could be $27 ADS token. If it can ever flip that orange level to a support, that would be very, very amazing, right? So not saying it's going to get there anytime soon, but just letting you know that once the $1.20 becomes support, all of these levels become possible, like the $1.40, the $2.30, the ARCs up here in the $4 range, the $5 range, and even the 2.272 fib at $10, right? They all become possible. And this chart is almost guaranteed now to be all-time highs sooner than later.
Yeah, and so maybe, like, again, going back, because we pointed out like why sometimes breaking news doesn't break the chart, right? So a year ago, it was almost a year ago exactly, when they were at like some conference and where they announced that they were doing stuff with Coca-Cola and Amazon. So like maybe go back to January. Well, let's just go back to January, because it was sometime in December, but I mean, let's not really look at the date. So like let's look at like January, because I know that that's when I made like a post, and then all of a sudden, like it did blow up. There was a lot of news that was right around when I posted about Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it was right here on this angle right here when that news came out, and then it did have a pretty big impact, I think, because it did go up to these retrace levels up here, but then it just quickly got sold off.
Yeah, and it went up, but again, so the thing that I love about 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗏 is it's like real world. It's not vaporware. It like these people are actually using it right now, and the people that are actually using this exchange. So for the people that are watching that don't know anything about ads token, so this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the token ads, and the company is 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏. So let me share my screen instead. So they are a decentralized advertising exchange. And so essentially what goes on is when advertisers and publishers want to bid for an ad slot, they need to use an exchange. But traditionally, how it works is there is no transparency, right? It's completely opaque. And so you don't actually know if your ad was shown or like to the level and depth of that. And it's actually so bad that advertising is actually the second largest fraud in the world. And so they sought out to solve that problem using blockchain, because it's completely transparent, but also because it's built on blockchain, because it's built on a decentralized network. What they can do is they can reduce the cost. And so you can see here, like it's proven results. And so when you are like a big company like Coca-Cola or Amazon or New Balance, Meta, Disney, all these companies that are wanting to use the exchange, so you can either pay 40%, which is the fees that a normal exchange uses, or you can use this decentralized exchange and they drop the fees down to like 3%. Well, it's a no-brainer. And after about a year of testing in small use cases, Coca-Cola and Amazon liked it enough that they signed like even more deals. I think Coca-Cola, it's something like a 10-figure deal. Amazon it's now being integrated into the Amazon ads platform. And just yesterday, actually, it was announced that Google, the Google demand side platform, so like where Google has their ads is going to be using this exchange. And so here's the Advertising Explorer. So, I mean, they're doing literally millions of transactions every single day. Every single day, they're doing millions of transactions. Yesterday, they did, what is this, like 3.7 million transactions. And each one of these transactions, you can see is the ad, the bid request for like a certain ad slot, and you got the winning bid. So that's what's going on with Älkomi. I mean, this is huge news, and Älkomi knew that they were going to onboard more ads and more publishers months ago, and so in anticipation for that, they actually opened up validator spots. So like before, like in this summer, I think there was something like 50 validators, but they opened up the network to anyone with collateral, and they had that open for like a month or so. And now I believe there's like 1,300 validators on the exchange, right? Because they knew that there was going to be this huge influx of people using the exchange. So Coca-Cola is going to greatly increase the amount of ads that they use on this exchange. And then Amazon, right? I mean, everybody knows Amazon. You can just go up and look for yourself, how big Amazon is. And then Google, that was kind of like a huge mic drop moment, is when they announced that Google was going to be using the platform. So going back to the chart, off of all of that news that just came out yesterday, and you can see the transactions happening, like, going back from a chart perspective, I mean, it looks like we're going to hit that 45, right?
Yeah. So the next resistance before all-time highs is going to be this 42.81, and then all-time highs. I mean, all-time highs is kind of hard for this one because it was kind of like on other decentralized exchanges too, and like at some point I think it did get up to like $1 and on some exchanges, so it's really hard to determine. But based off a KuCoin chart alone, the all-time high was 55.75, so I'm just basing my chart off of KuCoin's chart. So essentially, yeah, it's going to be the highest weekly candle close since ever, right? Since KuCoin's chart, the body of this candles never have been this high on a weekly candle close ever. So what does that mean? Yeah, it's going to be all-time highs sooner than later. It's going to even probably go, like, once it breaks that 55 barrier, I think it's going to just go straight up to $1, maybe $1.20. I think that's what's going to happen. But I think needs to also be in a few more American exchanges as well, would help that process along the way.
Yeah. So not financial advice, but selling your bags of Älkomi is not advised. Look, man, I appreciate it as always. Let me go back for those, as we are ending up the stream here. We got 92,000 people watching.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. So today, this is Matt Hughes. Let me go back to his profile. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to plug. Everybody should be following this guy. So
yeah, I mean, the link to, if you want to join Patreon, I do have a new tier 5, which is just helping traders do setups. I do daily live streams on my Patreon. The link is in my X description. Make sure you follow the correct Great Matsby, not a imposter, but
not the imposter. Yeah. So this is the real Matt Hughes, and here's a link. We will share this thing instead. So here's his Patreon account. So you can go to patreon.com/thegreatmatsby. And here's his Patreon account.
And I for my tier 5, do daily live streams, help a lot of people just navigate the markets, because I know when things break out, people love to buy, but usually when things break out, they're buying resistance. And I try to help people avoid that mistake all the time, because buying resistance gets people trapped when there's better opportunities in the future. Yeah. So.
Well, appreciate it as always. And I don't know if you had any closing thoughts on just the market in general, but to me, it looks pretty bullish.
Yeah, I mean, like I showed in the beginning, the others altcoin market cap, that just is proof to me. I can just go back to that others chart. This chart is just proof to me that it has not even broken into all-time highs yet. And because of this, means that the altcoins are just beginning. Like I showed with the Palantir chart, I think going back to Palantir here, I honestly think we are in the beginning stages right here for the altcoins, for the XRPs, for the DAGs, for the Algorand's, XLMs, whatever. We're just right here. We're in the beginning stages of something massive. And I think the altcoin, the others market cap, it has really potential. I'm just going to throw this out there, guys, so you can see. And this is not including Ethereum or Bitcoin or XRP. But just the others market cap has potential to go to 14 trillion by itself. Like the next level up here, 14 trillion, because this blue level right here held as support. So if you think that things are overvalued right now at 429 billion, well, guess what? If it gets to 14 trillion total, what does that mean for tokenization of everything? I think everything is going to get tokenized. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like, here, let me. I know we said we're wrapping it up.
Let's go. Let's continue.
Let's go.
All day live stream right here.
The all day live stream. Yeah, but it's important, like, to put into perspective, because I don't think people really fully understand, because everyone is so focused on these memes and just complete fucking dog shit.
But they're going to do well too. I
mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, they're going to do well too. But what I'm talking about here is, so I'm on Lunar Crush. Everybody should. Lunar Crush is amazing. First of all, so they have tons of categories. Right now we're on stocks, and so look at the market cap for Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta. There are trillions of dollars. And so just like one of these companies, like just Nvidia, it is worth more than basically the entire crypto market. And this level of tokenization is about to happen. And so like when all of these companies tokenize, that's when things are going to get absolutely fucking nuts.
I mean, I think people cannot understand or cannot fathom this because it's never happened before. So it's hard to wrap our brains around that kind of growth when something never existed before. And it's just like the smartphones. Nobody thought you would have like a computer in your pocket either, but look, here we are,
Yeah. Here we are doing doing a never-ending live stream.
Yeah. No, it's fun.
No, it is fun. It's great. And we just broke the all-time. We have 93,000 people now watching the stream. So
take that, Ben Jorgensen. Yeah.
So the whole market, the crypto market, is breaking all-time highs. The streams are breaking all-time highs. It's a good time to be alive. But look, thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Follow Matt. He's fucking a legend, and he won't do you wrong. I mean, if you're just looking for good, honest data, that's your guy. If you want hype and just complete baloney, go look at one of the other chart people. And with that, we're going to end the stream. I hope everybody has a good rest of your week. And so there will be a press release coming out before the end of the year that will again solidify Constellation's stance as the most trusted blockchain in the United States. And bye.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
And we will end the stream.